Brand, stand up and give us a little fit check. Okay.
It is pink and green. I wanted to be a watermelon today. Summer.
Welcome back to Stacked, everybody. No, that sucks. We're not doing that. And we are, actually. Welcome back to Stacked, episode 142.
He remembered.
I remember the episode title today because today is...
A special day.
What are you eating, shrimp? That looked like a bag of shrimp.
You know, I was closing at work the other day.
Yeah.
And we had to clean the biggest theater, and we found shrooms in the top of the auditorium.
Shrooms?
Yeah, for the movie.
How much shrooms?
Like a whole bag.
I can't believe they just left that there.
What did you do with them?
Turned them into the authorities.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What movie was playing after, that you were cleaning up after?
The Deadpool and Wolverine.
The movie we're talking about today. Which is why we did all take shrooms 15 minutes before we started recording this. So it's probably going to, kick in towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I said towards the end of the episode.
Oh, okay.
No, but yeah, we've all seen Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Probably the most highly anticipated film of this year. By the populist audience. I'm not just saying for me. No, not for me. Not even close. Not
Top
even
10?
close. It was in my top 10, yeah. But not even close to the top one. My top one.
It's in my top 15.
But yeah, this was I feel like a lot was banking on this film. For
Marvel.
For Marvel, for people's trust in Marvel,
This is a really dry spell for a lot of Marvel studio stuff.
Even they know it.
Because this is the first Marvel movie since November, and the last Marvel movie till February.
Yeah.
So within a 14-month span, they only have one movie.
So
And no shows, right?
They really...
They're going to have Agatha along.
Yeah, and they had X-Men 97, technically.
Well.
But
Yeah, but nobody watched that for the continuity.
yeah. Anyways,
Deadpool
and Wolverine.
and Wolverine, we watched it.
Deadpool's big entry into the MCU.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Kind of, but mostly.
We'll get into it.
How should we start this?
I think we should talk about how we feel about... Because this movie really is a celebration of the Fox X-Men movies. A goodbye to them, I feel like we should start by talking about, our thoughts and feelings about Fox's Marvel films. And just, how this whole journey has led up to Deadpool and Wolverine. And then we can, talk about the film,
Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about these Fox X-Men films?
I really love
Just the X-Men ones?
Yeah, let's talk about
any of them.
any of them.
I really love the X-Men. They were kind of my entry point into the Marvel universe when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I was a DC kid growing up, so it was quite it was Spider-Man and X-Men and Fantastic Four. That was it.
Right.
I didn't give a shit about Iron Man, Captain America, any of that. But I loved the X-Men movies growing up. I remember really enjoying X2 especially when I was little.
Yes.
But then as I kind of became a teenager, really loving I still love First Class. I think Days of Future Past is excellent.
You love Last Stand.
You do. Weirdo.
I enjoy Last Stand.
It's fun.
Ugh.
It's not great, but
Logan was one of the most impactful movies for me when I was that age, when I was the age I was when it came out.
Right.
And I think we can all agree the X-Men movies have had a
tumultuous
history.
Yeah.
Lots of ups and downs. I kind of look back at that whole franchise as it's a really foundational franchise for the superhero kind of
genre.
As we know it today.
As we know it today. I mean, X-Men. The first X-Men, does it predate Spider-Man?
It does.
Yeah.
By 1 year.
By a year. So, it laid a lot of foundations, and even if you don't like the trajectory it went down, it still had a huge impact.
Yeah.
And, can't discount that.
And it also started the dude who made this whole thing's career, Kevin Feige. He was an assistant producer on the very first X-Men. He's the one that fought for Wolverine to have his iconic haircut. He's the one that secretly slid comics to all the actors to have them get to know their characters because the studio did not want them to read the comics. They wanted to just make this just a normal movie. They didn't want any sort of... Because it was still seen as really silly.
Right. Yeah.
You know, especially after Batman and Robin and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like there was a real stink on comic book properties, you know,
Yeah.
in the late 90s and early 2000s. But, you know, Kev, he was like, he tried to fight for them to wear the yellow, you know, but they're like, the Matrix.
Black leather suits.
The Matrix came out and that was like the thing. So they're like, we got to have him wear black leather.
Right.
I love the first two X-Men movies. I used to not. I didn't grow up with the X-Men films. I was a Batman kid, just like you, until Iron Man came out, and that's when I started getting more into Marvel. So I didn't really watch them. And when I did watch them later, I was like, they're okay, you know. But I don't know what happened, like what changed recently when I watched them earlier this year. But like that first X-Men film is like, we just don't make them like they used to. Like that, it feels like a film. You know what I mean? It should be titled X-Men: the movie. Just like how it's, you know, the very first Richard Donner Superman is Superman the movie.
Yeah.
Like I feel like X-Men should be X-Men the movie.
There is
'cause it's
something
just,
very
like,
classical.
It
about
is, because they just like they boil down they sort of smorgasbord everything about the X-Men into that one film. You know, which is cool, and it's like the cast is fantastic. I mean, this is what, you know, brought Hugh Jackman into the limelight as an actor, but also gave us probably the most iconic performance in comic book films. Right. Maybe.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's
Patrick
consistent
Stewart.
too.
Yeah. Ian McKellen. You know, Famke Jensen. What's his name? Cyclops.
Scott Summers?
No, the actor.
Oh, James Marsden.
James Marsden. And then Halle Berry, of course, is Storm. I think she's great in the first two X-Men movies, even though she has that. Everyone gets offended by the what happens to a toad who gets hit by a lightning line. I think that's a funny line.
Yeah.
Because
I
it's
just think it's cheesy, but I feel like that's playing into like. But even then, like, if you look at the X-Men as characters, like they've always, even if they've got like silly costuming.
Oh, they've always been so. It's a soap opera.
Yeah, it is.
They are the soap opera characters of the Marvel universe, because it's like
it's the themes that matter.
You know, the X-Men is always about the relationships with each other, their identity, and how that reflects in the world and how the world sees them. Right. You know, so things get very like hot and steamy in the X-Men world. You know, and like pretty soapy and cheesy. And I think those first two films, like, it's crazy that they weren't directed by anybody. You know, like nobody directed them.
Nobody directed any of them.
Either nobody did or Hatsune Miku did. Like, I'm still trying.
Honestly, nobody directed the first three.
Yeah, actually, no. It's the most successful trilogy to not have one director make it. No, I'm just kidding. Bryan Singer,
Brett Ratner.
Got to admit, he did a great job with those first two, but I think he's a piece of shit, and he should never work again. But yeah, I love those first two X-Men movies. X3 sucks. I hate it. Not great.
I just don't think they know how to do those stories justice, which is so weird because
they've always struggled with Dark Phoenix.
Oh yeah, they failed twice.
Yeah,
and they failed even harder the second time, which is crazy.
Because the first, like, everybody's like, "Oh, the bar is too low."
Yeah,
and it's like not actually.
But I don't know, like. It was, then I feel like after those first two X-Men movies, they like, oh, we have some hits. And then it was just mess after mess. Yeah. Until they got to First Class.
And then they're like, oh, we have a new cast. We have some cool ideas.
And a fresh new director.
Yeah, new ways to go
an
around
actual
it.
person directed this, Matthew Vaughn. He makes shitty movies now, but back in the day, he was great.
He was early era Matthew Vaughn was great. I'm with you there. And then, like, you know, kind of leading into what we're here to talk about today, Deadpool comes around in 2016.
2016.
After a crazy development cycle. That movie infamously only happened because a big leak happened. We don't know who did it.
Ryan Reynolds.
Probably Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
You know, the world was gifted with Deadpool on the big screen, which is delightful. I love Deadpool.
I think it's just crazy that we got that character after everything he went through in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, that was insane.
And like, just talk about one of the biggest like redemptions in Hollywood.
And they double redeem him in Deadpool 2 because they literally kill him.
Yeah,
for that. Off. But sorry, go ahead.
Just like how like looking back now that the Fox X-Men films are gone, like how are you gonna remember them? You know.
fond, bittersweet nostalgia.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. There's that song that plays at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine. Like,
Yeah.
I hope you had the time.
The Green
of
Day
your-"
song.
Yeah.
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 That is that exact like kind of tone of like casual but like having fun and enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
That's how I'm gonna look back at that franchise. Yeah, it's got some stinkers, but it's got some great stuff, and I grew up with it. So, sue me.
Yeah. What about you?
I think my nostalgia for these films is I saw these movies before seeing like a bunch of like other Marvel properties, but I've always been a Marvel kid, unlike you two who have started out in DC.
Yeah.
Like I've always firmly placed myself in like the Avengers world, and not even like Fantastic Four or Spider-Man or X-Men. And so my first introduction to them was not actually the comics. It was more so like the film franchise. So I don't have that emotional attachment to X-Men the animated series or anything like that.
Right.
But looking at them, I gotta say, like, they're the reason the superhero genre exists, love them or hate them, and I kind of go into that in my Letterboxd review for this movie, is like if you look at the properties involved with this movie, and we're gonna get into it,
Yeah.
because it's not just the X-Men, but when you look into the properties that are involved in this, you're looking at it and you're saying these are, without a doubt, the reason why we have superhero movies as big as they are today. It's
Right.
not Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man popularized the format, I think.
Yeah.
But
he's
it's
yeah.
because if you look at the Marvel film properties before Blade and before the first X-Men and before Spider-Man, you had the Roger Corman Fantastic Four and
Captain America, Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So-
Howard the Duck. Forgot
Nightmare
about that.
fuel.
And honestly, without that, I don't really think you get the tonally bright and sort of unique. I would say like the Fox movies, for what they're worth, they're unique because they take pathways. You know, I think they were braver than Disney and Paramount.
I think they did take a lot of swings in those films.
Which I don't know if you can attribute that to Feige or the directors or lack thereof behind the pieces or the production designers, or even the costume designers, because it's like, with the exception of the black leather, they stay true to a lot of that stuff. But even then, there's things that they introduce and go forward with that are like super comic accurate and risky.
Yeah.
You know, you're not just talking about that. You're talking about the Fantastic Four movies. Like, they're, other than Galactus, they do a really good job at faithfully recreating what those characters are in the 1960s comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the legacy of these Fox movies is like they are the reason that the superhero movies were allowed to get to the point where you could be a grounded superhero movie but still appeal to comic book fans.
Yeah.
And then eventually get to the point where you have a character like Deadpool who is so faithfully adapted.
Yeah.
Because Deadpool is one of my favorite characters from the comic books. I remember he's top 5, top 3 comic book characters of all time. And I remember we had a comic shop in Arizona right by where I used to like go buy movies, called Bookman's, and there was the Samurai comics right by it. And I remember going to their $1 comic section and finding a mega issue of probably like 100 pages of like 3 or 4 Deadpool comics.
Oh, cool.
And falling in love with the character there and being like, oh, this guy's like irreverent and dirty and like funny, and there's like different like variants of him, you know. And I fell in love with the character there, and I'm like, I'd love to see this adapted.
Yeah.
And when I did end up seeing X-Men Origins Wolverine, I was like, oh, finally.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
killed me.
Yeah,
But
that sucked.
I think Fox learned their lesson after Origins, and it's like a sort of a night and day sort of like, all right, we're going to reboot this to be more comic accurate.
Yeah.
We're going to be a little bit braver because we recognize the audience is a little bit smarter because these characters don't really represent what the characters are in the comic books.
Right.
Granted, it was a strike movie, which is funny.
It was a writer's strike film.
Which is funny because Deadpool and Wolverine
Was also
was also
a
a strike
strike
film.
film.
So
Oh,
kind of
shit.
going.
Whenever Deadpool and Wolverine are together, there's a strike.
Yeah. Just the industry just fucking revolts against them, I guess.
Yeah, no more terminations.
You were talking about like comic like departures and like big swings in these films. Right. I
Right.
do think the Fox films take, for better or for worse. Fun fact, did you know that the first X-Men film invented the concept that Magneto's helmet like protects him from Professor X's mind reading?
Right.
Oh, I didn't.
That
know
wasn't
that.
a thing in the comics. He just wore it because it looked cool. Like it was part of his costume.
Yeah.
But then it was Kevin Feige's idea to be like, hey, actually, let's
give it some meaning.
Let's give it some meaning and
Yeah.
like have it be a tool for him, and that's like
Who could have thought of that before?
and that's like one of the most now defining things of Magneto and like his abilities is he has the helmet like that Professor X or any telepath can't read his mind,
right.
which is brilliant.
No, Gene.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know?
Can't come in
But yeah, you see them. They start out on their own stride, and then they sort of fumble a bit, with X3 because, there was a lot of just
creative disputes.
because Bryan Singer, he wanted to make Superman more,
Yeah.
so he left, and then they were like chickens with their heads cut off. They didn't know what to do after he left.
Oh, no, Kevin Feige could save that movie.
No, and
It's
then
entertaining. It's just not good.
it's kind of boring, personally. And they do. Oh, I hate what they do to Rogue in that movie.
I hate what they do to Scott in that
I
movie.
hate what they do to those two characters.
Oh,
Oh yeah, poor Scott.
it feels,
Scott Summers and Rogue are. I feel like they're the most
wasted.
mistreated characters in the films. Yeah, and that's why you guys got to watch X-Men '97 because they make those two like the coolest,
yeah.
and they're like two of my favorite heroes now.
Mhm.
Anyways, so yeah, they fumble. Then they get back with Matthew Vaughn, have their own stride. But then I feel like they sort of fumbled again,
After Days of
except for
Apocalypse
Deadpool and
and-
Logan, because I feel like they're just like, oh, we got to do what MCU is doing
We gotta
in
do a
terms of how we
cinematic
pace our
universe.
films, in terms of how
Yeah.
we write our characters. So that's how like the
Apocalypse and
Apocalypse
Dark
mess
Phoenix.
was, and Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, whatever happened there, because that movie was just supposed to be like that director's one singular vision,
Yeah.
but they just kept like reshooting it and just like
Mhm.
everything, and they went to the point where they kept reshooting it, and then COVID happened, and then they're like, let's just release the original cut of the film, and it's still not. It's
That's
still
so,
not great.
That's so crazy to think that
Isn't that-
that movie like officially came out in COVID. Because I remember in freshman year, you went to
I
a
saw
test
it.
screening.
I saw a test screen in
It took
2017.
It took 3 years of post production to
Yeah.
get to them to just reset back to the first cut.
And I never saw it. That's like the
I
only,
never saw it
that's
either.
The only X-Men
And
movie
I've
I've ever
heard
seen.
Ange saw it,
Yeah,
and she said she saw like the final release. She said awful,
awful.
and she hasn't like other than Deadpool's, she hasn't seen any X-Men movie.
yeah,
So I'm like,
It's-
oh, man.
I think it is the most forgettable. I rewatched all the X-Men films earlier this year to like just get ready for Deadpool and Wolverine. That's the only one I didn't watch.
I don't blame you.
Because I was just like, I never was in the mood. I even watched Dark Phoenix because like I just need to like I need to
At least it's like the
truly
guys,
say it's
like them.
bad.
Yeah.
It was-
and
I think it's like everybody, if you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's saying it's, oh, we want to replicate the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Every franchise is trying to do it with spin-offs and prequels and villain movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that they're not able to is they're not coming at it from a place of creative integrity. Not saying Marvel is always the most creatively integral part of the industry or that they have that integrity, but when you look at it, it's like the New Mutants was trying to replicate what the Marvel Universe did in Phase 2 and 3, where they were mixing genres in their
yeah,
movies.
they're like, we want to make a horror film.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that fails because they're not coming at it from a place of like, oh, we want to make this a good thing to fit in with the story, with the themes of the X-Men.
Yeah.
They're doing it to
We want to
fit
bring
in
like
with
we're
the-
like I feel like any property should be like I want to bring this really great character to life.
right.
I feel like that's where every process of making these adaptations should start.
Yeah,
And yeah, you could tell you're like they're just trying to make a horror film.
yeah,
You know,
and tag the X-Men on it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
even though they're barely in it. They're not in it at all. I think actually.
Yeah, it's
I think McAvoy appears at the end. I don't know. It's. I never saw the final cut. I just saw that test screen and I was like, oh, it's good. It was fine. But yeah, that's the X-Men films and the Fox X-Men films. What do you guys think about the other Fox films like the Fantastic Four and like
Okay.
Elektra
I
and
like
Daredevil?
Blade.
Blade was Sony actually.
Really?
Yeah, Blade was Sony.
Oh, I thought
And
it
that's
don't-
technically the first film. A lot of people attribute this comic book boom. You know, some say it was X-Men, some say it was Spider-Man, but most say it's Blade. You know, because that was 98
Yeah.
or 99 or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was
R-rated, was gory, but it didn't adapt like a specific like comic book, or a comic book arc, right?
Because that's how most films were like in the day. Like,
Right.
Like I mean, the first X-Men film. It's not really an arc about the
Anything
film's
in
about
particular.
Magneto trying to murder Senator Kelly and turn people into mutants.
Right.
You know, they just sort of focus on the characters,
Right.
which I think is good. Like I feel like when it comes to adaptation of comic books, because there's so much stories and history and everything. If you're trying to make just like put it all in one film, just focus on the characters. Then build the world around storylines and the narrative with elements from other stories and such. But it's integral to the characters, and I think that's what made the first two Blade films so successful. Is they're like, okay, this is like
Focus on what works.
this is just a Wesley Snipes like just
'em up.
he's killing vampires and it works
and he's cool.
yeah. And even though I don't love them, I do respect them.
I enjoy them quite a bit.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't think they've got the best dialogue or the best story, but again, they're entertaining. They're good
Yeah.
blockbusters in terms of like what they're trying to provide. They're definitely ahead of their time in terms of what they predict
Right.
or depict rather. They're the only R-rated superhero movies up until Deadpool now.
yeah.
I mean, not Watchmen included.
Kick ass.
Well, it's not. It's Dark Horse, right?
Right. Be mean of the big two.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
Big
Yeah.
two. Yeah. And then Fantastic Four. I know you were a big Fantastic Four.
That was one
fan,
of those.
Chris.
That especially that first one was one of those movies that I just always had on replay at some point when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember like, oh man, I even remember playing the PC like game that came out with that movie.
Yeah.
Game sucked, but I thought it was so fun because I love the characters.
Similar themes to
yeah,
the X-Men too.
Exactly, and like
Yeah.
I thought like we could spend a whole episode talking about them, but like for example, I think Michael Chiklis as the Thing is fantastic.
He is
Best
by
part
far
of them,
the,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
of both those movies.
He's the best
He's
part
great.
of those movies for sure. Yeah, and like I love the practical suit. I doubt they're gonna go with that for the future, just because it's a pain to handle.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Doing a mix might be fun.
a mix could be cool. But anyway, yeah, I really like the Fantastic Four movies, as schlocky and kind of B movie crap as they can be, especially.
Tonally, they do not fit in with anything.
Yeah, and like
They fit in more with the Superman from the 70s
yeah,
and the Batman.
we're not
Robin.
even gonna talk about Fan Four Stick.
No.
That movie doesn't exist.
Yep.
It's the worst, probably.
Yeah, that was rough.
That and Dark Phoenix are like.
It might be actually my favorite of the Fantastic Four movies.
You're out of your mind.
That's not it. That's not it. I'm not saying that's like the bar is low. Like I'd say all four of those old Fantastic Four movies, like the Corman one, the Tim Story ones, and that one are like some of the worst comic
The
books I've
first,
seen.
third.
But like, I love up until that 1 year later. Why are we talking about? No, okay, I don't want to talk about Fan Four Stick.
I feel the same, but I don't love it. I just like it, and then it just gets worse.
You're still talking about it. What are we doing?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine, and that brings us to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
A
Which
celebration.
Is a celebration, a goodbye, an acknowledgement of how messy it was. I feel like this film is kind of like a mess to sort of talk about how
It's-
messy these characters' journeys have been.
Yeah, I mean,
Because-
let
And how
alone-
messy and confusing it is.
Yeah, I mean,
None of
even
us loved it.
Yeah, and even down to like the timeline of the X-Men films.
Yeah.
Like it makes no fucking sense. There's like 3 or 4 branches
Yeah.
at this point. I don't even know.
I don't know.
But this is a fun movie. I really enjoyed this movie.
I did too.
I think all of us did. At least
Yeah,
on
I
some level.
enjoyed it.
You know, it's. I don't think any of. I don't mean to speak for the 3 of us, but
Yeah.
I don't think any of us like came away from it as like, oh, that was some like hidden masterpiece or some kind of like revolutionary new film or something like that.
But none of us are like, the critics went too hard on it. Or
Yeah.
the critics were so right on it. Like the top critics.
I think the 3 of us all went into that film with the very manageable expectations of I want a fun Deadpool and Wolverine movie.
Yeah.
And that's what we got. And I'm so happy to say that like went in that movie, got exactly what I wanted and left with a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I wanted.
My expectations for this film were like, okay, I love Deadpool because not because I'm like, oh, he's so low random, and I love the fourth wall breaking, the references. I love that an essential part of his character is that there is so much self-hatred and he's so
Self-loathing.
self-loathing and self-critical because of his appearance, that he has to put himself in this suit to sort of to mask himself.
Yeah.
And that's how he becomes his character. And it's kind of sad
Yeah.
to sort of watch that because that's always a part in my brain. It's like, oh, this guy is like, you know, he's always like this clown character,
Yeah.
but he's doing that just to like overcompensate for this
Yeah, it's like
this
humor's the
tragic
best
life
medicine
that he has.
kind of thing. Yeah.
So I was like, and I think that through line is they do that excellently in the first two Deadpool films, you know. And I was like, okay, so how are they going to continue that here? You know, because all the trailers they show that it's like, oh, you know, they showed a lot of like the humor and the action, you know. But I'm like, okay, but I want to see some like serious personal stakes with this character because I feel like this character does have some intriguing personal stakes in his storylines, you know. So I was expecting that, and then I was just like, I was totally falling for the bait of like I was so excited to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, which I was surprised because like I was never an X-Men fan growing up. Like I said, I had no real nostalgia, and Logan I think is one of the best comic book films ever, and it's like such a perfect ending, but just like revisiting them, I'm just like, yeah, he's kind of the guy.
Nobody's ever dead in comic books.
Yeah, but also like Hugh Jackman, like there's a reason why they centered this whole franchise around this like before the X-Men cartoon, Wolverine was like a B tier X-Men.
But even then, like
he wasn't one of the mains.
Yeah, and then in the movies, he still was like the main character.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like Wolverine wasn't one of the main characters until X-Men the animated series.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, all the kids like buying Wolverine toys because he looks cool and he's got a cool attitude. So you can see in that show he slowly becomes the main focus of the show.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then the movies just sort of skyrocket that, you know.
And it's ironic that even through 2 or 3 universe changes, he stays consistent through all 3 of them.
Yeah, he does.
4 maybe.
But so I'm like, I just want to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I mean, I wasn't necessarily getting like over the moon about his yellow suit. I didn't think the suit looked great, if I'm going to be honest.
When he wore the mask, I felt it looked a little uncanny valley.
Because it wasn't
looked
real.
funny.
It didn't look real.
It looked great when it actually was real. At the very end, when this is gonna be a spoiler review. This movie's been out for 2 weeks. You know, when they're like holding hands and the thing's coming down, and his shirt blows off.
Yeah.
That becomes an actual headpiece.
Right.
And I'm like, when it's an actual headpiece, it looks great.
But when
he first puts it on,
it's like a hood, right?
it looks like his head is like really long, and I'm
like
just like, and like he has the white eyes, and I just don't think the white eyes worked because they weren't emoting at all. Unlike Deadpool's eyes, I don't know why they didn't animate his eyes like Deadpool's. You know, I feel like that's the only way to work.
Common oversight.
Yeah. Because I feel like they do that with Spider-Man too now, you know. But even then, Spider-Man, I feel like Spider-Man's suit always worked without the emotive eyes.
Yeah.
Because I just think Deadpool and Spider-Man are very physical characters, and I just feel like they didn't do enough of the physicality for Wolverine. I mean, they did, but you could tell it was CGI. Whenever he was like, you know, doing around, so I was like, that's not really Hugh Jackman. That's
It looks
weird.
like a animated cutscene in a video game.
So, Brandon, what were your expectations? Because that's what we were thinking going into the movie.
I love Deadpool as a character. Like I said, he's one of my top 5 superheroes of all time. Anti-hero.
Yeah.
And I like the first Deadpool movie a lot. And the second one, I think, is hit and miss. Like, I think it's got a lot going on, too many characters. Like, if it cuts back on the characters, maybe I care a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sometimes the bits go on a little too long. I feel like that was not a problem in the first one, whereas in that one it was like, okay, wrap the scene. Like when he's dying, it's like, okay,
yeah,
we get it. And just to undo it, it's like, okay, cool. And in Deadpool and Wolverine, I was like, okay, they have a chance here to do something really special with the character. This is the first time they're crossing over any X-Men possibly, except for the Beast cameo at the end of Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
And the Patrick Stewart cameo in that movie. Like, it's
what are they gonna do with that?
I don't know. But with this is like the first real chance of them to take characters that are directly from the Fox movies and put them in here.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I just want it to be coherent and I want it to like work because I want it to be fleshed out and not fan servicey the whole time. And I don't know. Oh.
Yeah, how did you guys feel about? I mean, okay, obviously we all knew that there was going to be some level of cameos in this. The TVA
It's
we
par
knew
for the
was going to
course
be.
now.
Yeah, at this point it's just like it's what brings in the big bucks.
Yeah.
It's what
And it's
people
like,
care
yeah,
about.
you know, if I was an exec at Marvel, I probably would let that happen too.
Yeah.
Let it happen.
For the most part, I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I never found any of them particularly jarring or like, why is this here at all?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was always like a defiant because they're in the void, so it's like, yeah, there's a reason they'd be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little contrived, admittedly, actually very contrived.
Yeah.
But but like I was able to like kind of just look past it and try and just like let myself have fun with it.
Right.
Let's why don't we start with Chris Evans?
Yes.
Little surprise for us. I don't think any of us really thought that Evans would make an appearance.
Did you guys have any knowledge going in?
I only knew X-23 was going to be there.
I knew X-23 and oh my god.
X-23.
I knew X-23. And I knew the Hulk. I knew.
Oh, you knew Hulk? How did you know
that
about
was spoiled
Hulk?
for me. They're
Oh.
like, oh yeah, the Hulk's gonna show up.
He's in a reflection.
I didn't know how.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, the Hulk's gonna show up for like a second. And I was like, okay, whatever. But I gotta say that scene.
Because you get to see the
Brown
The
suit.
brown
and
suit.
yellow suit. That is what he should have had the entire movie. That suit is so fucking. That is Wolverine's best suit ever. The brown and yellow. It is, and they just adapted it perfectly. And I'm like, why is he not wearing this for the rest of the
I
film?
just think it's not his most iconic kit.
Oh, I know, but it should be. It
So,
should be.
Yeah.
It's number 2. It's his second most.
Yeah.
But it should be number 1. Like the yellow and blue. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if
no.
it works.
Here's the thing. I agree with you, but I think the yellow and blue really works for Wolverine when the other X-Men are also with him and he's wearing yellow and
Because like
blue.
Cyclops.
Because it's like
wearing
the
yellow and
classic.
blue,
It's the.
so is Jean
But yeah,
Grey.
I
But
think
they're
like
all
on his
tailored
own,
characters.
I do think the brown and yellow looks the best.
Yeah, and I think it would have looked a lot better next to Deadpool too. Because I think it just like
More muted
'cause,
color palette.
yeah, Deadpool's a bit more muted. You know,
Black and red is very dark.
the
brown's
the black
kinda
and
close
red.
to
It's
red.
not a dramatic contrast, but I do think the blue and yellow is a dramatic contrast.
Yeah.
You know. Why yeah, but anyways,
About
sorry
Chris-
about that costume design
Yeah.
theory we're going on there. That color
boy.
theory talk. Yeah,
Chris
so I
Evans.
knew about the Hulk and I knew about X-23. So Chris Evans showing up, I knew immediately that he was going to be playing Johnny Storm.
I'm not gonna
Like,
lie. They had me.
You were like,
I
he's
was
gonna
like
be Captain America.
because like I was like, oh, it's Captain America. I was like,
I mean, he's more dressed.
I don't know why. I just thought it just was the first. And then
His
when he said
face
flame, yeah.
is more like Captain America.
Yeah.
Because he's got the facial hair. And Johnny Storm in those Fantastic Four
And it's also like
movies.
his hair is shit, like
Yeah,
buzzed.
yeah.
yeah.
But then, yeah, like fun enough. He's
He says
he's
Flame
Johnny.
On instead of Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, which was neat. That was neat.
Yeah.
What was okay? How about maybe the better question is what was your guys' favorite
Like,
cameo?
Or what was
What's
everyone's
glazed
biggest?
over?
How about what was everyone's biggest surprise?
Blade.
Blade?
Gambit.
Gambit.
When Blade showed up, I was like, "Oh my god!" Not
Yeah.
because I only knew about Elektra and X-23, and I heard Chris Evans was going to be in the movie, and I didn't make any assumptions. I was like, "Oh, it could be a Captain America thing.
Mhm.
It could be a Johnny Storm thing," but I had no idea about anything else.
Right.
And so when they went, I was like, "Oh yeah, there's gonna be cameos in this." Like I wasn't even thinking about it up to that point. When they were like the Borderlands, the others, I was like, "All right, take me. Where are we going?"
Yeah.
But when I saw Blade, I was like, "No way that they got Wesley Snipes, especially
Yeah.
because of Mahershala Ali."
Not only that, because of that, and because like he feuded all the time with Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Yeah.
On Blade Trinity, and
Yeah.
he didn't talk to that dude for years. So I was like, "There's no way they'd ever get that dude back to work with him again."
Yeah.
Somehow they did.
And lo and behold, they did it.
He's so funny.
And I think
His
Blade,
first line.
His first line.
it's fucking fantastic.
It's the only way to do that joke. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way in 2024 you could make a joke like that.
Oh Jesus, I forgot that they.
Yeah.
I forgot what he says. I think I gotta say Gambit. That
Okay.
was.
That was my second biggest surprise. Third.
I
But
think.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest surprise because like, that's
That's an
actor and a
inside
character that is so inside baseball that like
Yeah.
yeah, Channing Tatum almost had a Gambit movie that was never made, And I'm sure
And he was, like,
only
heartbroken.
only the sweatiest of nerds will know that.
Which was us.
Yeah, which was us. And there he was.
He played
Is
it
so funny.
He's so funny.
Oh my
I'm
fucking
about to make
God.
a name for myself.
I'm about to make.
Yeah.
Just remember what happened to you.
I'm about to name
I
myself.
should have shot on my daddy's dick ready.
I said, "What's up, Doc?"
Oh my God. Yeah, he is so funny.
Oh,
And like, it was like, obviously it's not a Gambit focused movie.
No.
Yeah.
no.
But what little we get of him, he's fun and he's great.
Yeah.
I like
And his suit is amazing.
he
very
The,
comic.
the
It's
only
very
thing I
accurate.
don't like the headpiece.
how
It
he
makes his
wraps on
head
his
look
face.
very square.
Yeah.
And they don't give him the eyes, the
purple.
and black eyes.
Only when he has his
There's
powers,
Only when
I
he's
think.
powered up, but he's supposed to have that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, come on, that just if you're like gonna get extra be as comic as you can, just go all the way. You know,
I mean, it's
But-
the year of Channing Tatum being a surprise.
it's the year of Gambit because Gambit does also have a really big role in X-Men '97
Yeah.
and some insanely good moments.
Yeah.
So like, I was already writing off a Gambit high from that,
Yeah.
and I'm just like seeing him there. I'm just like, oh man, I really hope that Gambit is one of the X-Men when Marvel Studios reboots it because
And
he's
it doesn't have to be Channing Tatum.
It doesn't have to be Channing Tatum. I just literally my only wish list for that X-Men movie is like just give me Gambit and Rogue and like have Rogue like take Carol Danvers' powers and let her be that, just please. That's all I want from those X-Men movies is just that. That's all I need. But we'll see. Anyways, yeah, Gambit was awesome and seeing him like actually fight and like his
looks
abilities
cool.
come to life. Like he was doing the same shit that he
Yeah, the
does in the X-Men
staff.
'97 cartoon.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Better than the Origins version
Oh.
with Taylor Kitsch.
Way better. Yeah, no, that was goofy as hell.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say about like these quote unquote cameos, I wouldn't even call them cameos. For those characters,
I think the Hulk was a cameo.
the Hulk is okay. The Hulk is a cameo.
all the variants of Wolverine.
The Cavalrine is a cameo.
Okay, that was pretty
a
funny.
big
That
surprise.
was my
I was-
second biggest surprise.
Yeah.
Other than Blade, because it's like I wasn't expecting it, and how did that not leak?
right.
How did that not leak on the internet?
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, those are cameos because they're like they barely talk.
Quick
they have
throwaway
one line, they're
little
done,
things.
done for one scene. But these are characters that actually are like
Have a thematic purpose.
they have a thematic purpose because they're all forgotten characters.
Yeah.
They're all forgotten or mistreated or misused characters or never came to fruition at all.
Poor Gambit.
So that sort of propels Deadpool's storyline of him trying to save
his forgotten characters.
his world, his
Yeah.
forgotten world, and his small family that is his world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
the narrative of Deadpool and Wolverine can get incredibly messy.
It is.
Yes.
It is so messy.
It's the
and
worst part of the movie.
It is the worst part of the movie, but that through line I think stays afloat throughout.
Yeah.
Of
The
just
theme,
like
yeah.
this is a movie about Deadpool trying to save his world, which
Yeah.
are just these 9 people. Because and having that birthday party scene, and they're like, these are people that actually care about him and love him.
Yeah.
That like, yes, this is who he fights for, and that's great.
Yeah. I think that also ties in really nicely with kind of this characterization of Deadpool throughout his trilogy, where in the beginning of the film he has that interaction with that skater girl and she's like, "You're my hero," and he's like, "No, that I'm not."
Yeah.
And he like refuses to call himself a hero, which is once again into his own self-loathing and like his own like the way he views himself.
That continues his arc in 2.
And yeah, it continues through 2 and 3. Granted, I don't think it's as well articulated in 3, but there is that through line of the fact that he's choosing to be the hero and save the world. And so does Hugh Jackman's character, because he plays a version of Wolverine where he fucked up big time.
It's not very clear.
It's not. And
It's
that's
a little
what I
vivid.
don't like.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they're like, we wrote this storyline so we could show. They're probably gonna try to adapt Old Man Logan,
right.
where like somehow he accidentally kills all the X-Men, because that's how it was in Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
Mysterio causes an illusion for him to fight a bunch of Sabertooths or something.
Yeah, but it's actually
it's
the
actually he
X-Men.
just killed all the X-Men. I feel like they were trying to allude to that. I'm like, just show it, or just say it.
Not even that. It's
They're just like, a bad thing happened. They all died, and I wasn't there.
yeah, but then it's implied that not even like human beings like him, like
Yeah.
because he's like, you're not welcome here. Is it because he's an X-Man, or is it because of what happened with the X-Men?
It was
in the 90s?
confusing.
Exactly.
But bottom line, his world doesn't like him. He thinks he's a fuck up, and that parallels Deadpool's journey of trying to redeeming himself.
Parallels
and
his
saving
journey
his
in
world.
Logan a little bit too.
Yes, absolutely. And how do you guys feel? How did you feel about how it treated Logan? You know, because I hear so many people complain like, "Oh, this ruins Logan for me."
No.
And I'm like, that movie still exists on its own.
Yeah.
It works.
And it still works.
I don't think it ruined it at all. I honestly because obviously, they have to figure out a way to do this.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking like, oh, are they gonna like kind of like half-ass this and do something like really contrived?
Yeah.
But no, he does it in the most Deadpool way. He just abuses his body.
Yeah.
And like in my head, I'm like, oh, like I don't want them to do this to Logan because I love Logan. But like I can so easily distinguish Logan from Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
That like whatever he fucking did to his corpse doesn't affect the way I see that movie in the slightest.
It perfectly makes him, as we've talked about, like Logan and Wolverine in those X-Men movies, is the lead pretty much in every single one.
Yeah.
If it's not Charles and Magneto, it's Logan, right? And here it perfectly situates him as a supporting co-lead for the first time, I think.
Yeah.
And that's a very effective thing that this film is able to do. Because usually it's like super clear that Hugh Jackman's the standout, or it's either Charles and Magneto. And here it's different. And they nailed that. And I didn't think they would be able to, if I'm being honest.
If you read X-Men comics or watch X-Men 97, you now like discover that is like what Wolverine is best at.
Yeah.
He is not supposed to be the guy. He has his own solo adventures, and those are cool, but like when he is like the guy to like get in between Jean and Scott's romance or something, you know, or the guy to always challenge the X-Men on decisions, you know, or go off like be sort of the wild card, you know, or build like a really nice bond with Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he works best, not being the guy or being like he's always a mentor to like the younger members.
Yeah.
You know, to like Jubilee, Shadowcat, and
Kitty Pryde
and Rogue. That's Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde.
Oh, sorry,
I was using her mutant name, but yeah, Kitty Pryde's fine too. But like whenever he's a mentor to those younger characters, like that's it's really good. It works, and I hope that this is like an indicator of like that's Wolverine's future, you know. Yeah. I really hope after this one he does kind of take a back seat. Hell, I wouldn't even mind if just like
he never shows up.
No, I wouldn't mind if Laura's just Wolverine going forward.
Yeah.
Fine by me.
If like, you know,
she's good
because you know she's great. I think she wasn't my most surprising supporting role.
Yeah.
But I do think she was the most effective, honestly.
Well, and I think that's intentional because of the emotional connection you have with her because of Logan.
Right.
And not saying, I think she has very little to do in the movie. She has that one conversation by the campfire.
Right.
And that's basically it. That's the only character building you get from their relationship, I think.
Yeah.
Because everything else is very minor. It's action-oriented or it's comedic-oriented. It's not driving the story forward for his character outside of that one scene, which convinces him to take that extra leap. Yeah. Which is what he needs, because I hope you guys remember the last lines of the movie. It's like, sometimes family can save each other.
Yeah.
And I read that as sort of like a meta sort of comment on both Logan and Deadpool and Wolverine as like a duo of a feature. Because Logan is about Hugh Jackman's Logan saving Laura and those other X-Men kids so that they can live a proper future, whereas Deadpool and Wolverine is Laura kind of saving Logan. Yeah, returning the favor. The family saves each other. And it's not just Deadpool saving each other, you know, it's the family he created. You know, Peter saved his life.
Yeah, Peter did save his life.
Yeah.
Peter.
But yeah. But okay, let's get into the actual narrative.
Because the cameos are not the movie.
The cameos that does not make up the movie. The plot makes up the movie, and it's a mess. It's messy. It's really
very messy.
So, because at the end of Deadpool 2,
you get Cable's time traveling machine,
and based on how the MCU sets up time travel, you think, oh, this is a perfect setup for the TVA to arrest him. Yeah. But instead, he goes to the 616 reality and tries to be an Avenger,
which I thought was a good scene. I think, and that was a good cameo of Happy Hogan.
Oh yeah,
and that scene, and
it sets up the thematic journey.
It does set up the thematic journey, because he's like, oh, if I can't be an Avenger, then like, and then you know that sort of
He can't be an X-Man.
can't be an X-Men. That sort of causes the breakup with Vanessa and everything
Right.
like that, you know. But yeah, you feel like okay, him doing all this stuff and going to the 616, you know, because that's what Loki did in the show, and he got arrested. I'm like, that would be a great foil for how the TVA gets involved, but it's not.
No, he just goes back, and 6 years later, he's working at a car dealership
And then they come get him.
in a different
Because-
universe. Like, is it his X-Men universe? Like,
No, he went back to his universe that the Deadpool movies take place in.
but if you're taking the Endgame rules for like multiverse travel, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you change the past, it doesn't change your future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're taking the Deadpool 2 rules.
Yeah, it's like
It's just messy.
it's so messy.
But anyways, the TVA comes to get him because they're like, oh yeah, like I don't even know why are they trying to pull him out?
Exactly, they want to put him.
Oh, because
they give him an offer to go to the 616 reality, but
because they say like I guess there's some like
Future
you're
purchase.
important in this universe, and they show him dying next to Thor,
yeah,
and we're like, is that actually going to be paid off in Secret
Or
Wars,
is that just
a joke?
yeah, joke
Right.
about Thor: The Dark
And
World.
yeah, so I was just confused the whole time. But yeah, they're like, yeah, you're gonna come to the MCU because you're important, but we're not gonna say why. And I feel like that's like the one biggest part of just like, I like that Deadpool and Wolverine was a bit more self-contained than I thought it was gonna be.
Right.
But that was the one thing I'm just like, come on, like. It's there. You had an easy end to be like, okay, we're just gonna keep Deadpool out. We're gonna arrest him because he was messing with time.
And he steals like a time
and
pad or something.
And by the way, your timeline is dying because your anchor being is dead.
Yeah, it's a good setup.
And that's a great setup. But they're like, no, we have better plans for you because
They're overcomplicating.
yeah, and your timeline's dying. By the way. So then he tries to find a new anchor being with Wolverine,
which is fine.
which is a great scene.
Yeah.
Cool scene of just seeing various Wolverines. We see the X-Men Apocalypse Wolverine. We see, or the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine.
Yeah.
We
You see Old Man
Patch,
Logan?
See another Old Man Logan, Calverine. You see the
Comic accurate short.
we see comic average short Wolverine, which people are like offended by, and I'm just like, whatever, dude. Like,
Funny. It's
they're like,
it's a Deadpool movie.
it's sizist. Like, why are you making fun of short guys? Like, bro, I'm 5'8". It's fine. It's funny. And there's like the Logan that's like being crucified.
Yeah, from
this
the
one
uncanny,
very specific X-Men cover.
Yeah,
Which I think that was the funniest one.
he's
honestly,
like,
'cause he's
holy
like,
shit!
Oh my god! Like, what is happening here? Like, help me. And he's like, I think we're just going in a different direction. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was cool, and that I think just that whole first act just like it just creates this mess that just persists throughout the film with the
Right.
TVA,
Mhm.
where I feel like everything could have been so much more simplified, but it's not.
Yeah, he could have just like hijacked the TVA's time pad and been
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I need to say," which he does.
Yeah.
But then it's like, why do you have to slide in the MCU then? Why
Yeah.
not just make it a goodbye to Fox movie? You know, the only thing to
Mhm.
make it a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie is the TVA.
Yeah.
In essence, because or Deadpool's references to Captain America, you know. It's,
But he could be making that joke in his own universe anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he made a joke about Thanos in Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really messy, and at the end of it, they end up in the same X-Men reality anyway. They don't go to the
Which I'm fine with.
which I'm fine with as well.
Because like, oh, okay, because like this movie's not building up to like something else that's bigger
Yeah.
explicitly.
right.
Mm.
Like, sure, I'm sure there's gonna be stuff in Deadpool and Wolverine that's gonna be like, oh, so that's why that was.
There's going to be an
like,
incursion or
in
something.
Secret Wars and stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever. But like in terms of like the actual like story itself, it's like okay, sort of a full circle thing. It can be its own thing and not just like a chapter
Right.
Mm.
in this grander story.
Mhm.
You know, but. And then just like everything with Cassandra Nova and sort of the deal that they have is just confusing. Like,
Like, why is she in the void
why
to
is she in the
to kill off these heroes? If like you send them to the void with the opportunity that they don't get back. I mean, we've seen Loki.
yeah.
The only way Loki got back was going to the Citadel at the end
Yeah.
of time, which is again lots of inside baseball stuff here, which is
Yeah.
great for comic book fans who are like micro analyzing every frame and
Yeah.
watching every property. And we watch most of the stuff, if not everything.
Mhm.
Right.
But still, it's like, it feels like it's overcomplicating everything because they realize, oh wait, we have audience who has not seen any of the other things,
Yeah.
and we have we have audiences who are just in it for the Deadpool movie, and then we have audiences who are just seeing it because it's a Fox X-Men funeral celebration with Wolverine as the lead.
Yeah.
And there's just too much going on.
Yeah.
And it can seem a little self-indulgent at times.
Absolutely.
But I think it earns its right to do that based on what it defines itself as.
Yeah. But yeah. I don't know. Anything else to say? Anything else you guys want to mention about the film? The Deadpool core, I think that was kind of wasted.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be honest, like
there's
and that also didn't really make much sense either. You know,
it's like, why are they working?
There's a
for
very
her? They don't work
crazy
for
assortment of actors who are in that core. Blake Lively, obviously.
Lively.
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey is in there.
Fillion.
What's his name? Pete Davidson is the floating zombie one.
Oh, really? Tom Holland's brother is one of them.
Yeah. Apparently Kai Cenat is in there somewhere.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And there's like I guess like there's a Welsh
Which is
Deadpool, which
oh,
is like
Welsh. It's
one of the soccer players on Ryan Reynolds' team that he owns, right?
Wrexham.
Which is Welcome to Wrexham, the show. Rob McElhenney is one of the TVA
Yeah.
agents. It's like there are little things like that.
Yeah.
There's his kids, and it's like it's wasted in terms of like what it could mean, like rather than making it explicitly a full-on Deadpool movie. They have to do this.
Dogpool's great.
He's okay.
I love Dogpool. He's very.
He's okay.
I think he's cute.
No. I want
His best bit
speak your
is-
piece about Dogpool.
Yeah.
I just think it's like, okay, he's an ugly dog. So what?
Yeah.
Like, he's just an ugly dog. And he's like, the best bit is when Ryan Reynolds' character, the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool that doesn't regenerate, gets shot. And he's like, you did that on purpose. And then the dog looks at him like that. That's the funniest bit for the dog. And every other time I'm like, okay.
I really like the part.
He's a misfit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love the part when Dogpool's running towards Deadpool and that song like Lady in Red is playing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I think it's very
It's
funny.
the implication.
It's a good movie dog, I feel. You don't see a lot of ugly dogs.
That dog is
Ugly dogs.
is the recipient of ugliest dog in the United Kingdom.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah. I guess that's how they found him.
They went for the best.
His cruel and ugly mug.
If I were to try to find an ugly dog, I would go to the United Kingdom. If I'm gonna be honest.
Oh.
Because they're like the fucking British. They'll probably like they'll breed the shit out of those till they're like just a brown smudge on the floor. You know, with 4
Homunculi.
legs and a tongue, a little homunculus. They're literally putting like dog DNA into a chicken egg and putting it out for 40 moons.
Yeah, the humor was good. I mean, I don't think the dog pool stuff landed with me personally, but like every audience I've seen, they like kind of dug it.
Yeah.
The stuff that works for me is like the character-based humor. It's not even like reference humor. It's just like the cruelness of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine against the like sordid and like irreverent Wade Wilson.
I think one of my favorite moments in the movie is when Hugh Jackman just like cuts loose on Deadpool.
Is that
in
what
the
you're gonna
car.
say?
in the in the car?
In the Honda
Yeah,
Odyssey?
and then he's just like, "I'm gonna fight you,"
And he's like, huh, yeah, right.
and then they just fight all day,
yeah.
and it's a great fight.
Did you know car fighting's a real sport?
What?
So people will like sit in like the seats that they were in, and the objective is to like
Like first person who gets out of the car.
yeah, no,
loses?
first person, you have to restrain the other person. So seatbelts are fair game. Chair manipulating the chair is fair game.
What?
Shoving each other around.
What sport is this? Why
Search
would
it up. Search car fighting.
It's going to
Search
be an
car
Olympic
fighting?
sport.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think it's time for us to give our final thoughts and rating on the film. So, Chris, let's run down the line here and just give us your overall thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine and your score.
I'm gonna give it a very good, which is a 3.5 for me. 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, not like an amazing movie, but a very enjoyable time at the movies.
The film.
At the films. Yeah, like it's not a deep movie by any means. It knows exactly what it's trying to do, and it sticks to what it's good at for the most part. And it's a bit messy, but I was able to look past a lot of that and just enjoy myself. It's a fun little send off for the Fox franchise, and I bid them farewell. Grateful you existed.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think I'm the coldest on this one. I do think some of the humor doesn't work. I think this narrative is way too messy. What?
Sorry.
Oh, is it this? No. Okay.
Oh, I know what's happened. Nothing's wrong. Keep going. Keep talking.
You should be.
Yeah, why are you up there? He's here, by the way, everyone.
He's been here the whole time.
Yeah,
We were gonna make a joke about
Little
Joey being on
Joe's here.
vacation, but
yeah.
he's just a little lazy today.
I'm gonna have like this little thing of him running across the table and hiding behind the Blu-rays. Actually, little joke. Whoa.
But yeah, I'm the coldest on this. Like, I think the humor doesn't work too much. I think the story is really rough, but I think the themes are really good. And it is a really good Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
Not a really good movie. I think, though, the law of diminishing returns here is the case. Like, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is probably the weakest of the three. But yeah, it's you can have fun.
Yeah.
The Gambit stuff, is it worth the price of admission?
It might be.
It's
honestly.
so funny.
It's great.
It's good.
For me, like I said, my expectations going in was like I want to get a solid Deadpool character arc, and I want like a celebration of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine,
Right.
basically. And I want to see that dude. I want to see Hugh Jackman play a Wolverine that's entirely under Kevin Feige's control.
Oh, yeah.
Like completely like comics accurate, fateful, but with Hugh Jackman's like gravitas that he's just like made for that character.
Maybe.
You know, and I got that. I think I got that 100% with both those. So I would give it 4 Blu-rays out of 5. I thought it was I had a really great time. I don't know if I can call it like a really great film, you know, because I still think it's incredibly messy, and I understand the whole sort of like populist capitalistic like sort of argument behind it all, and just like I get that, but I don't know. I've moved beyond that, and I've been able to just like I'm just gonna enjoy this silly little movie, you know, and I did.
4,
4,
3,
3.5.
3.5.
Oh no, 3.5. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
We'll see you guys in a few months for
for
Captain America.
yeah.
Well, I doubt we're gonna do anything for Agatha unless that's a hit.
What if it's like the best thing they've ever made?
It's like Andor. It's like for Star Wars.
Yeah, just out of
It's like,
nowhere.
fuck, Agatha all along was fucking incredible. Wins all the Emmys.
I don't know if Deadpool and the Wolverine is gonna go anywhere for like Deadpool as a character.
Yeah.
I honestly see.
I
Do you think he's like the only person that could carry over from this?
I
movie?
think no. I think there's 2 people that could carry over.
Don't say Hugh Jackman.
No, I'm not
No.
gonna say. I
won't say
do
either.
think Hugh Jackman will appear in at least Secret Wars. But I think there's only 2 characters from this universe that I think. 1, 100%. 2, I'm gonna say like 70%, and that's Deadpool and X-23. I think there's a reason why they brought her into like back with Hugh Jackman and Deadpool's family at the end, because I feel like they do see the potentiality with that character, you know. So I think she'll be back for Secret Wars, and she'll just be like one of the random characters that just like so happens to be in, however the MCU reboots, and they'll just keep her casting or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too concerned about how they're going to be used in Secret Wars. I'm just like not all too excited about those films anymore because we can talk about this before we wrap up.
Oh yeah,
About
should we do
Robert
a quick?
Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom.
And the Russos coming back to do both Doom.
Russo's coming back. That's fine, but
Yeah, I'm fine with
Downey
it.
Jr. is Doom. I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you?
Desperation. It's
Same.
a
It
It's a
seems-
desperate move by
It
Marvel.
seemed that is like the most desperate thing you could have done, ever.
You texted me and I was like, "That's crazy," and then I kind of absorbed. And I'm not a big like Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom
Yeah.
lover. Like I'm not a really well knowledgeable about them, but I know that's a bad casting. You know,
No, yeah.
I think it's more desperate than if they just brought Iron Man back for like a role,
A
in these
cameo.
films.
Honestly, yeah.
Because
I-
they're like, oh, we need to make the main villain
a hero.
a Tony Stark variant,
Yeah, because he's not going to be.
and we got to
Dr. Doom.
tarnish Doctor Doom, who is the villain of the Marvel universe. Like he's the guy, you know, he is the villain.
Bigger than Thanos. Yeah.
He's his own
Well, no.
guy. Like, why are we doing this?
And there's so many great actors who could
Yeah.
have auditioned for this role and done some amazing shit.
And I don't know, they had the perfect opportunity to recast Kang
Yeah.
as like
They
a
could have.
variant.
Yeah, I
because
wouldn't have
they-
been. I would have been fine if they did it.
They set up a multiverse, and you could just be like, "Oh, like I'm just a King variant or something."
Yeah.
And it's simple as that.
I'm
And there are
not the
many
same-
actors who could have played that role.
Yes.
Not just Jonathan
absolutely.
Majors.
So many talented actors that could have done it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly, like, at this point forward, the only like Marvel film that I am like excited to see is Fantastic Four. Because
At this stage, yeah.
Because that
Until they announce new stuff.
Comic accurate Galactus.
because it's comic Galactus, it's retro futurism. It's going to be its own universe.
The cast is
I know
amazing.
that thing's going to be enveloped into the sacred timeline or whatever eventually down the line. But for
Yeah.
just this film, if this is going to be like its own standalone film in its own universe, we don't have to worry about any of that other stuff till probably like a post-credit scene or something,
Right.
which is fine. That's exciting.
Right.
And the cast is fantastic.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
cast is so
so good.
fantastic.
Say that again.
The four fantastic actors. Wait.
What did you say?
Anyways, I'm excited for that film.
Same.
But yeah, I don't really care about the new Captain America and the Zionist character it has and the whatever Thunderbolts. I don't. Yeah, whatever. Or Blade. I mean,
Is that even? Because remember
it's supposed to come out next year. The film doesn't even have a damn director.
in Deadpool and Wolverine, they also Wesley Snipes literally says, "And I'm the only Blade."
And then
Yeah,
Deadpool
there's
looks at
only
the
one
And
camera.
then Deadpool goes like, and I'm like, so I guess that movie's not happening.
Yeah.
I think they've delayed the movie just for that joke.
just for that joke, they erased it just for that.
Yeah, they were like, all right, we're going to get rid of the director because we need a funny joke.
Yeah. I'm also really excited for Daredevil Born Again. That's not a movie, but I'm just like, I guess it's not like excitement, it's just curiosity to see how they treat my boy Matt.
I'm
because-
excited for Armor Wars and Nova.
Yeah? Tell me more about those.
Tell me about Armor Wars.
Yeah,
Is
what's
it
gonna
happening?
happen? Is it what is that?
Don Cheadle.
Okay.
Don
cool.
Cheadle.
It's just Don Cheadle.
I want Don Cheadle as a lead.
It's going to be a continuation of Don Cheadle's character from Boogie Nights. And that's going to be Armor Wars. He's done selling radios. He goes and sells armor.
Armor from Iron Man.
Yeah.
He becomes.
I would love that,
That
if
would
we
be
just got
funny.
a sequel of Don Cheadle's character, because there's like a whole thing that happens in Boogie Nights, you know?
Yeah. Not
He
Secret Invasion.
witnessed some murder and stuff. This little whoa! He just ran out. He told me to wrap it up. Okay. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening to Stacked.
Bye.
You probably won't see me for a while.